the Gwen and the Karma. We see the Kalista, Skarner, Yone banned by Weibo on the red side. A lot of differentiation in the meta of bans right now. But first pick remains the same. If it's open, it's going to be Rumble.
Yeah, Rumble, expecting to see Galio. And for everybody at home, we are on 25.6. So if you are looking to see some lane swaps, for right now, it seems like that's dead. Maybe we get some iteration on that later on. But immediately, Weibo answering with what I think is one of the newest and I think one of the best champions that Xiaohu's been able to pick up recently, which is his Aurora.
I love the Nefiri hover for future for Tian. I know Mark was talking about it earlier. We got Wei doing it on the other side too. It ends up being a classic combo for Weibo though. A lot of priority in this setup between jungle and mid with the Aurora Vi combo.
I think that this duo is so deadly, not only in the amount of crowd control and setup that specifically Vi brings, but also Aurora. I think you think of that one burst combo between these two champions, Weibo will have a huge knockout punch, and I think they're going to need to bring that when you talk about who is on the other side. Knight versus Xiaohu is always a very fun matchup to watch, whether it's in playoffs or regular season, and I'm only hoping we get some more to deliver here between these two mids.
I like the champion Aurora, so I'm glad even after all the nerfs, like we still see her prominently even at first stand and things like that. Now we have a throwback for Wei, a classic jungler for him, obviously in the meta as well. But if you remember his time all the way on E-Star all that time ago, it definitely made his name a lot more on the Xin Zhao here. But that's a little bit of a throwback. We do have the Varus to lock in, so utility with a lot of fighting in the front for BLG, a very aggressive comp for them so far.
Yeah, that throwback as well as Rumble might be the oldest thing in this draft right now. We'll take a look.
It might be. It might be. What's so funny though, just really quick. Just really quick. It's so funny that in this day and age, like first pick bin Rumble actually works now, right? We've evolved.
It's real. Yeah.
We've evolved.
Sucked for a long time. So glad to see that he's been able to evolve there. Back end of the draft, so I think interesting things that I want to note on the Ezreal ban here, although I would expect to see Light want to be able to pick it up with how versatile this Weibo composition is. I think taking that away from a player like with the performance he's had in the past couple months on this champion, I think very well bears well for Weibo Gaming as you look at this composition. Heavy dive, a large amount of damage. I think you get those level 6s, and we're talking about those big team fights around objectives. They're going to be in a very good spot.
And BLG knowing that they're trying to go for these massive setup plays as well. They're going to get the misfortune away from that kind of wombo combo setup. But I love that we're seeing a very clear direction for Weibo. They're going to follow it up with a little bit of flexibility here as well in the Corki, having that damage profile to kind of match and wave with that rest of the comp.
And what I like about both of these compositions right now is that it feels like everybody is going to be able to contribute in a team fight. It's not going to be seeing one person just autoing away or throwing some spells. They're able to apply some crowd control. And here for BLG, it seems like they really want to try to measure on the dive that Weibo is showing and just say, you're not going to be allowed to. We're going to have the Galio. We're going to have Renata as well. The Xin Zhao is also going to be able to provide so much utility. So BLG are welcoming all of this damage from Weibo, and what I want to see from BLG is how they're able to kind of keep them at range, keep them at distance, and dictate when fights occur.
I'm geeking out a little bit because this feels like the most kind of split focus, or at least not split focus, but responsive focus. You get the very aggressive comp with the all-ins, the kind of execution needed for Weibo, and BLG are just saying, come at me, bro. I want you to do that. I want you to try to fight into this, and execution is going to matter a lot, and I like that both these teams that are supposedly at the top of this group are setting themselves up for that and using that bar of execution to say, I'm better than you.
I think also plays a little bit into the format, right? We're talking about best of ones, so really you're just allowed to play everything. You could just lay out a lot of OPs. We're not worried about, hey, looking into game 2, game 3, fearless. None of that. We can just get ready right into this draft. And I think, like you were saying, such an explosive game. When we looked at individual players, I know before the match we were kind of trying to tease up our two mid laners here, but another Galio game here for a night. I don't personally really dislike when we see BLG take tools out of one of the best players in the world to be able to kind of influence the rest of the game.
That is what makes me say, I know we're getting all into like the stylistic nature of the compositions, but give the golden left hand the opportunity to make those plays. And I don't know if it's going to be the case. Maybe he shows us out on the Galio. We'll see in that case. But it's definitely playing towards the team a lot more. And if you look at these teams on paper, I mean, yes, the last time we saw them was in that first round of playoffs just last split. It was a 4-game series. BLG ended up taking the victory, but it was hotly contested. And I hope we get that same kind of energy here, even if it is a best of one. Both compositions playing into the hand of exactly the strategy these teams want to play, and a step forward in the group here to go 2-0 and take a momentary hold over Group A. We're into our 4th game of the day, BLG versus Weibo.
Maybe Rafa was cooking. I think the Gyos have been a little quiet today. We're
they've
day one,
been
guys.
rough. They've been rough. They've been rough for sure. And these are like pretty two well-respected teams. But I do love the shout leaders just crying their hearts out for the team. I mean, that was passion right there. It doesn't matter.
I think that's really great that we have people that are willing to take it upon themselves, kind of lead the charge for the rest of the fans. So, as we get ready for this game, again, really big, like you were talking about in between while we were getting ready for draft there, it was the fact that double round robin, but you're playing best of ones in this group. Getting top 2 immediately qualifies you for that Ascend group. And for both of these teams, obviously losing here, someone obviously has to lose, and you eventually are going to have to make it through the bracket. We're looking towards these 2 teams to be the top 2 in this group. Every single win is going to have to matter here, and anytime you can kind of take the lead, especially against 2 top teams, it's going to be really important. I just noticed this. You know, you were talking about how Aurora is a champion that has gotten a little bit of nerfs, but I think she got brought back by the electrocute change. What is Breathe rocking over here? Is this a new tech? Are we just abusing electrocute now, guys?
Hey, got to take some good trades, I guess, into the Rumble setup here. But I guess that's where we can talk a little bit about what we've seen from these 2 teams. We've seen one game from both these teams. I don't think you can take all that much of a read from it as well, but I'm very curious to see how it kind of pans out going into a second game for both of these, and especially with some of the reliance on Breathe and Bin in their last series as well.
And also just, I think, the level of play that the 2 top laners have given us. Now, again, Rumble and Mbessa are going to be looking to do 2 different things in this game. And I wonder if the electrocute is going to meaningfully change how Mbessa is going to be played. I'm going to be watching how Breathe is entering into team fights, how he's able to execute onto this backline. It's particularly difficult when you have stuff like the Renata as well. So I think it's going to be a tough job. Weibo need to be able to get off to an early enough start. I like what Xiaohu is doing in the mid lane. I need to see how him and Tian link up, as these 2 have been, I think, the linchpin to Weibo's success.
Yeah, and it has to be. If you have these names on your team, you're expecting for that to pan out. As we take a look, though, Xiaohu got the better end of the trade on the night there, and that was without even a TP. That's just sheer laning right there.
Insane. That is just what Aurora does, so we're going to be looking towards that. And the 2 supports, we're like going, I think, across the board in these rosters, but for Weibo, Hung has been a liability for them, so he needs to kind of step it up. You have so many veterans. You've been playing in the league now for a couple of years. I want to see a level up in his gameplay, especially when I think he has been one of the most crucial members when it comes to whether or not Weibo are able to contest in team fights. He always gets caught out right before an objective, and we saw it earlier today in their match.
He was my biggest question mark coming into the year, at least, with the kind of new signee as well. Was always an interesting piece on LNG, but trying to find his niche on Weibo has been very important, and in this one he has an even more important niche in terms of the engage that he's going to be providing for a lot of the team's follow-up here. We did see the culmination of the jungle pass and everything go away. We did end up getting the trade of the Scuttle Crabs there and the reset by Wei and Tian. So no early action, but we can expect early action on the horizon because of that dragon spawn, but more importantly, the grub spawning in about 1 minute and 40 seconds.
I like what Weibo's been doing, though. You see how much vision they have on the top side? They're really trying to make sure that Breathe and specifically Xiaohu can be a little bit safer. We were already talking about the mid lane matchup there, but Rumble has really just kind of been shoving in these turrets versus the Mbessa. I wonder if there's going to be a trade happening around level 6 here as both of our top laners reach level 5. But I'm looking at objectives. I mean, yes, the Dragon is up in 15 seconds. Light is coming off of a reset, so we do expect for Weibo to go for this early Drake on the bottom side of the map. And again, they are the early game team. They are the beatdown. They need to make sure that they're stacking objectives and putting a timer on BLG.
Might see a little bit of a timer here as Tian is just
waiting
for the clock to tick on some chicken nuggets here. Finally, the air fryer dings, and he's trying to gobble them up before Wei can get over here. And Wei becomes the lightning, steals all the little chickens. He at least gets the smite on that one. We're going to see Wei try to defend the rest of his jungle here. He's going to go ahead and control ward the dragon pit, but Tian just stealing away a little bit there.
I feel like Tian just griefed his team, though, because you think about what they were setting up for. We're talking about them going for the dragon. Light had just been coming off of a reset. That could have been their angle, but with Tian investing the smite to make sure that he grabs that, I mean, like, he just can't even contest for the dragon now because Wei, their bottom lane had just reset. Aurora already spent a lot of her time pushing in the wave, so that was a missed opportunity there for Weibo, and I think we got to see it in Tian just literally emote spamming to hit Raptors. Now we see how does this affect our top side, because now BLG, they're taking control of bottom side of the map. Wei is now deploying out onto these grubs, and is Tian now going to get the dragon? Well, Knight already has level 6 and is pushing mid first, so this is tough.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be an attempted trade here, but the fact that BLG have already kicked the ball out in front of them gives them a little bit of preemptive information, as they will move over just to make sure they secure the grubs. That trade will go down the control ward, spotting it out as they go, but this will be a given trade for an early game here. I like the 3 grubs with BLG way more.
Taking that away not only from some potent side laners and someone like the Aurora and the Ambessa, but also just having that, I think, is so helpful when you have a lot of melees on your team as BLG. Hitting the turret isn't going to be as reliable as they would have had in some other comps, so making sure that you have that damage, especially if we're looking them to be a really strong team fighting team, means that taking a dragon, taking a big fight, and moving on to turrets is going to open up the map for BLG, as we're getting a little bit of skirmishing on the top side here. Level 6s and ultimates, more importantly, coming in for both of our solo lanes. So I want to see how Breathe and Bin are able to connect with their team, as I think Bin has been a lot better about being able to play the map and meet up with the rest of BLG.
I like how BLG are playing with this comp too, because they're very centered around team play with this comp, because they not only have a lot of anti-dive, but their solo lane combos are really good when you layer them on top of each other. So they're trying to play towards each other. They actually got a little bit of an invade there, but now Knight, having transitioned back through towards mid lane, was on bot side of it and ends up taking a hefty trade from Tian and Xiaohu.
Tian is trying to split the map right now by just constantly getting onto respawned Raptors, making sure that he can open up. And while it is trying to protect from mid,
the Valkyrie still ends up getting hit by the Chains of Corruption. Not going to be hit by that combo, though. Ends up getting away with his flash. Now maybe a bit of a rebuttal here. Xiaohu with the angle hung. That engage hits the dredge line. I am seeing magic on my screen right now as Xiaohu gets hit under turret, but they still get the kill. First blood to Weibo. Meanwhile, Knight getting everything used on him. Cease and desist combo, and Tian looking to take down the golden left hand. Needs one more combo, and that's 300 smackaroos to Tian.
Wait, Breathe. They just used ultimates in top lane. Breathe going in.
Cross the map. Okay. Everything. We're not going to get more kills.
Oh, man. What a great opening gambit here for Weibo, because we were like, okay, they didn't make anything happen in mid. They were talking about them splitting open the map on the bottom side, and Tian finds a solo in mid. He's holding the wave for his mid laner, and then that bottom lane play, it would have been great if it was only on having to use his flash, but Elk as well loses his summoner, and such a big trade here, specifically getting the level 6 on both of the bottom laners here for BLG makes it so that this trade is able to occur, but unfortunately one of those spells from Elk does not land, and this right here is, I think, the backbreaker here, because not only does it land onto Elk, it is all of these summoner spells now gone from the bottom lane, which is a very fragile lane. You are double ranged. It's great for the poke to be able to harass, but Nautilus has so many tanky stats, and I mean, this is just a great job from Tian to protect the mid wave from, I mean, Knight just making sure that he can't move.
I mean, that's huge to pick off Knight there. Knight caught a little bit lacking, but I gotta say, just a personal opinion, I think On takes the hook there. I don't know, that might just be me.
We're both AD carry players, so I'm not gonna even bother commenting on this
might be a little biased, but he flashed out of that one, so Elk died. Anyways, we'll see if it ends up mattering as a whole. Right now, decent kill advantage for Weibo, but still very dead even in the map state. Wei gonna redeploy towards top side as we have Grubs in about 30 seconds. BLG gonna keep pressure in their solo lanes because this is where they've been winning.
Yeah, we need to see what these two mid laners for these two teams are going to be able to get done. As you see, BLG, they're the first ones to move out onto this mid wave. And then now it's Aurora sitting in the bot wave. She's going to have first access to crash this wave. It's going to be a turret or a wave now missed. Picking play on the top side.
Go with the combo on the Breathe. Ends up getting the smite there as well. Breathe will just be pushed out under turret. Doesn't have TP, so you're going to need to stay to clear that one out. But it was all preemptive for this Grub spawn as Wei goes for the Scuttle Crab in front of that one.
But they need to execute on this very quickly because Breathe can take his recall with this minion wave crashing. He'll just be able to TP top, catch the wave. It will allow for BLG to start the objective. Knight
the
is roaming.
Entrance. Here it comes. They're going to get the combo, and there you go. They just want to fight as a team, and they're doing so that way as Crescent Guard comes through. Tian is getting lower and lower, getting the reset of the bailout, and On is still alive. That's insanity. And BLG calmly, collectively take the lead.
It was a fight over River Vision, and it turns into a huge skirmish there for BLG. You have to know, we're teleporting in. I mean, look, Breeze completing an item. You still have big carries here, despite missing the ultimate from Xiaohu. BLG feel no inclination to continue these grubs, so this is going to be at least one of these stolen, stopping them from getting more of these epic monster-slaying feats of strength.
It's going to be a little bit of a hitch in the plan for BLG, but I think, honestly, with the way the game is going, he'll take that. And they show off the strength of this composition. I mean, it's a very bold face, right? It is telling you exactly what it wants to do. It wants to get a big engage, get a heroic entrance, and we see it play out right here.
And this was the question that we were talking about, which was, has Hong improved? These are the moments in games where, especially against better teams, he is going to get punished. And this has happened time and time again so far, just early on this year, and even thinking back into his career last year as well. So we need to be able to see this team kind of right the ship now. With Tian, you still have a lot of gold access between our two mid-jungles here, but I'm getting a little worried. Those deaths are really, really reminiscent of so many games for Weibo.
It is indeed losing a little bit of the momentum that they were building up with, but we do have first items coming up for majority members here as well. So Sundered Sky is going to be providing a lot for both Wei and Tian, as BLG looking for a top lane play onto Xiaohu potentially, as they are moving way over. There's a lot to invade while he's over here though, and it's going to be a little bit of split map as Weibo we're going for a dragon.
But it's so hard to dive this wave because unlike Xiaohu, or unlike Rumble, he can just delete a wave and buy himself 35 seconds, you know? So this dive where we saw Weibo put 4 members down into this lane isn't going to turn into much. It's going to grab them the second dragon, but I think BLG are more than happy to take all of these topside camps, get gold for Elk and On, and now with 4 grubs, they can take a ton of plates before they come down.
God, that's actually so much gold going to Elk. He's going to be about 1,000 gold up over Light, respectively. A little bit of extra gold being picked up in bot side. Tian going for a play on mid. Ben is caught out, but Xiaohu doesn't have the damage to stick it home. We were just talking about it. He makes another magical dredge line play, and this guy's hooks are insane.
It's the first to 3 here for Weibo, but they need a single more objective, and that turret's already been taking a lot of gold now into the back pocket of Elk. Someone who has really started to step up for the team, and it is gonna have to continue here in this game, because right now, Ben is getting caught out on sides. We're having Knight, again, on Galio, and just looking at how this play happened, Ben was bottom lane, but he just TP'd into this mid wave, and he doesn't have teleport, he doesn't have flash up and available. This hook landing is just magical, like you said.
I mean, they had the first one. He had the first one, and then you have this one. It's actually insane. We need a new skin. Oh, Riot Games, you're welcome. We need a magician skin for a dredge line.
I don't think we need. We need in the same way that we have Lollipop, we need like Lollipop.
The thing is, the dredge line, the hook on that magician skin needs to be like super tiny, but then it still hooks you in the entirety of the radius that the normal anchor would look like. So then it looks like magic.
We are not putting you on the dev team, bro. I'm just we're
no, you don't think that?
Oh,
come on. Nah,
I don't
am I the meme get kicked out of the window? You know.
All I'm saying is we've got a Herald spawning in a minute. We've got Herald spawning in a minute. I think that is more so the objective I'm looking towards right now, and not the one of getting you inside Riot Campus. We are not getting
Oh, man. Well, I'll still be pushing anyways. We got a lot of vision set up by Weibo down on this bot side, preemptively at least to try to get a little safety for Xiaohu getting the side lane. And this has been bread and butter for Weibo. If we think about how they were operating in the last split, but as well as over this last year and a half or so, 2 years that this kind of experience with the majority of this roster has been like, they do love playing towards side lanes, and especially Xiaohu, being the master of side lanes, is going to get a little bit of love down here as Knight outplaying the first half of this one as he's real tanky, and he's got the turret there. Hung going back in to give his life, and that's a 1-for-1 trade.
Tough because there's not going to be any damage relatively on this mid wave. I think that's a good spot here for Weibo.
Light playing way too far off of the turret will just fall there, and that's unfortunate because now you just lose that outer turret to Elk.
That was my question, right? Was, okay, is this play on the bottom side worth it? It took so long to kill Knight there that I was afraid maybe Weibo weren't going to be able to grab the turret, but now with that kill in mid, it allows for BLG to fade into the top side of the map, grab themselves this Herald, and honestly, it just feels like they're compounding on more and more of these goal leads that we're finding for them. It has been pretty even for most of the game, kind of going back and forth until Weibo kind of strike for first blood, but Weibo, one of the problems with this team is in the mid game, if they don't have an overwhelming gold lead, I think that specifically Tian and Hung get a little lost on the map. Hung gets caught out, Tian has to kind of make up and kind of solve problems on the map in live time, and that is not what I want from my superstar jungler that is, you know, supposed to be able to help.
This is not what I want from my game. That's all I'm saying. We got to pause, apparently. It's funny, I was going to bring up the Hung conversation because it's the whole conversation and meme of, you know, if you can't handle me at my worst, you can't have me at my best. You have those magical 2 hooks, and then you have that last play that happened, and you just have to take the good with the bad. And I think they've got to figure out.
I'm thinking of a lot of Blitzcrank games at Worlds.
Yeah, hey,
a lot of Blitzcrank games. There's a fight game from last split as well.
The past is the past. All right, we don't judge, we listen.
If that's the case, if the past is the past, then I'm allowed to start slandering Xiaohu in this game.
Oh, that's a little bold.
Yeah. See,
I think there's a lot that Xiaohu can do though. And I guess while we have a little bit of time here, it is funny to think. And I guess maybe not funny for the other teams in the group that this is like the supposed 1-2 matchup here, and we saw a little bit of give and take in that early game, and now it definitely feels like BLG have gotten a solid control of the map and how they want to play the map, at least.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like we are back to live. We've
got
gameplay. Yay, we don't have the pause anymore. It's not day 1 of Demacia Cup. Only got Lennon this time. We got no white.
True.
At least in the color casting spot. So we're here 17 minutes. Like you were saying, BLG starting to make it very difficult for Weibo to exist on the map. And it is all about that one punch. We talked about it from draft. Can Weibo explode into a team fight? And I'm going to be honest, without our top laners here, I'm going to continue to prefer BLG's composition. We have not seen Breathe connect with the team. And I think of prior games, specifically, I think there was a Galio game that Breathe played. He never was able to connect with his team. And that was in the playoff series versus BLG. That is, I think, going to be a big point of criticism for this team.
Well, and I think moving the spotlight a little bit from BLG is wanted, at least in this situation, because they did a hell of a good job getting resources funneled towards Elk, and now on this Varus, a very premier pick right now in the meta. He can do a lot of things and a lot of damage in this game. We're seeing them push into this bot lane, tier 2 here. Xiaohu was maybe looking for a little bit of a play as they were looking to try to take it down, but the turret's still standing. TP coming in. Maybe this is what Weibo been waiting for, but the combo's already there. Public execution isn't going to be enough. Here comes the heroic entrance on. Is not going to get bailed out this time. Re-engaged by Bin onto Hung. Hung down. Double kill goes over to Elk, and he is pumping.
Okay, and what that does for Bilibili now is grab themselves the dragon. It gets a lot of teleports out from both sides. The fact that Bin wasn't able to connect into that team fight a lot earlier maybe changes how Weibo were looking to enter and exit out of that fight. but it seems like for now, Weibo are going to lose numbers on that. They're going to lose the Dragon and not even able to really press on the opposite side of the map here. So BLG continue to come up trumps in these games.
I mean, yeah, Elk got a little close that time, but I think Elk and On have really had a premier game here to potentially move them up to 2-0. Now we do have Xiaohu getting long bombed by Bid and a little bit of a knock up there, as they will get the side lane kill onto the side lane king. And BLG running away with it. Now 3,000 gold up. They have all those 5 grubs as well, as we're going to take a look back at that initial fight in bot lane.
I mean, but just look at how different this fight is, right? Like, Tian doesn't have the Q. We're just now investing, but Light is nowhere near this fight. And the big opener for me was, again, how does Breathe get in? He gets a little bit of damage onto Elk, and they're able to execute on. I don't think that's worth it. I think this Mbessa was absolutely useless in this fight, alongside Hung, who literally just walked in and died.
I'm pretty sure I just lost like 10 years of my eyeball use after watching Xiaohu's flash there. All
right, the past is the past. We don't speak,
the past
we listen.
Is the past. Yep, we're listening all right. We're listening to something, and it might be Weibo just dying as another catch-out kill goes to Elk, and the man is 6-1 on this on-hit Varus, and that's a hell of a way to start off this series against Weibo.
Biggest piece of criticism for BLG was that, hey, your bot lane's great, but can they actually play from a non-advantage state where you're constantly diving the bottom lane? It feels like over the past year and a half, Elk has really started to level up his individual play. And honestly, if we can get a season where him and On play like 15 to 20 games on point, that is championship material there for BLG.
That was championship material. This is the bot lane that ran rampant on the league for so long, even when Ruler was in the league. And I think that's what I want to see BLG get back to. I think, yes, Knight and Bin, they're incredibly talented. But when BLG was at their best, it was when they had multiple carry options, and that relied on Elk and On having incredible games. Now Weibo struggling to find something on the map here for themselves. They were moving towards top side a little bit, but the real estate is very, very small for them to operate in.
Well, we were talking about, hey, like, you were going to be able to play in the early game. I think for Weibo, you're looking at these 2 items that are starting to come in. Tian's already finished them. Breathe is on his way towards it. You have Xiaohu and Light that are about to finish their second items. If they can't win on this next power spike, they're never winning this game. They're already down 5,000 gold. They can't even rely on something like a soul stacking mechanic to try to win them the game, as it's already been delayed by another 5 minutes. And you really don't want to have to try to play against like 3-4 item Varus at this point.
That is, especially on-hit Varus. I mean, we haven't actually gotten to see on-hit Varus as much in recent history, at least. But every time you do and you see it in the hands of somebody like Elk, it's always very fun to watch because he is just shredding team compositions. Now, I will say, with a little bit of a lull on the map, I think Weibo are definitely benefiting from that and trying to get to these item spikes. The biggest problem is, though, you're just now hitting second items there for majority members on Weibo, and you just don't have that keep up in gold. Luckily, though, BLG haven't forced the issue and aren't starting at a con. They're not pushing the pressure too much. They're actually playing pretty reserved.
BLG are not that tanky yet, right? We were looking at BLG. You look at what kind of tank stats they're going to have. They have a lot of HP, but not necessarily a ton of resistances outside of someone like Knight. So you need to be able to find knockout punches. You need to be able to make picks on out of the map. And that comes across when we see Tian and Hung actually able to get linked up together and find plays. But as of right now, it's kind of Weibo scavenging around the map, seeing what resources, what gold are we allowed to pick up? Am I allowed to hit any of my camps as Vi? These are all questions that Weibo are asking themselves. And BLG are just saying, hey, we're going to keep asking questions, and as long as you have no answers, I think your Nexus is as good as gone.
Tian answering that question if he can hit his camps right now. It's a hard-hitting question. He's going to be able to get the Krug.
Hard answer is yes for now.
Yeah, for now. There is another dragon coming up in about 30 seconds on the opposite side of the map. You already had some presence there from BLG. They're going to move back towards mid. I think they were a little wary of the Atacon setup and maybe looking to try to start that one up themselves now as they move a lot of presence over towards this top side.
man, I just see 3 items complete here. Elk has Terminus now, so he's going to continue to get tankier and tankier. If he gets a Jock Show, then I feel like it is almost quite over at that point. Even if it gets a Wit's End, he's going to be feeling great. They're going to completely avoid Weibo. They don't even want to try to say, like, hey, they're going to have item spikes. Just keep pulling them around the map. Right now, Elk is hitting onto this dragon, and as long as Knight can survive, looking around, teleport here is available for Bin if he wants it.
We've seen this before. I don't know. It's a 3-man taunt. The turret is ticking, and now you got the TP coming in. Knight is surviving, and Hung taking shots and on. It's a massive hostile takeover across the back line. You thought BLG were playing towards Dragon. Well, they are taking both. On gets hit, though. Hung trying to get that engage, but beautiful flash play with that 3-talent strike. And now you have the re-engage by Light, but he's going down to Bin. It's a little bit of a trade here, but the problem is big man on campus. Elk is coming to save the day. All that kill, all that gold. It's going right the way of BLG. And Breathe, he's trying to get on, but he can't do it. And On survives yet again. Bin with the clean double kill.
And it's going to be the Otacon there. BLG can do no wrong here in their second game of the second split here in the LPL. I don't know what to say, Leaded, man. This game has been quite over for a long time. We didn't get any early action, at least not enough for Weibo to meaningfully make an impact on this game. And some of the dives on tonight have been atrocious. That one was really tough to watch, man.
It was tough, man. After you get that initial 3-man taunt, I say just back away, dude. Like,
I'm pretty sure this is 4, no? Okay, I thought Hong, maybe Hong technically got taunted. He's like, I need to land on this guy. I need to throw down.
Taunted for sure. He took those turret shots, and that flash play from Odd, it's obviously very reminiscent to the obvious play that you make on Renata all the time, the one we saw Chris make, but it makes a huge difference there. Unfortunately, it ends up being a little tricky.
And it's so much damage, and you look at how Wei is able to immediately jump right into the back line, cause so much disruption. And even when I was like, okay, maybe Weibo can win this, you have Sundered Sky, low HP, Tian misses his flash Q, and we already talked about it. Elk, man of the hour in this game. Such a big one. And with how this game is looking, we are seeing BLG potentially on the verge of starting 2-0 in this group, and that is so important. Again, double round robin, best of ones, and you only have 2 days. You're going to have 6 games in total. So kind of the magic number is 3.
Okay.
4 is very likely of hitting a first place as BLG starting up this Baron.
Wei says, Elk, you can finish another objective for us. We'll take the fight. As he's going to look to go back. Oh, okay, Bin is cooking them alive. He's got 1 kill. They're looking for more. Double taunt there. Knight and Bin. The solo lane powerhouses of BLG get turned around on. But they had the Atacon revive, so they'll be right back in the game shortly.
No way, Knight, you're building a Magi's on Galio. All right, that's all I needed to see.
That's
this game's over.
Knight, man. That's peak Knight.
Such a Knight thing to do. They have Baron, they have 5 Grubs, and hey, they still have those 3 Otacon buffs on these 3 members pushing down into the mid wave. This is probably just going to be the inhibitor and then them recalling, as Weibo now kind of have to look at their base in tatters, and any chance of a fight is going to have to come off of multiple picks, multiple members of VLG being out of place at the wrong time.
Can I just say how disgusting it is that you can be dead when they kill Atacon and you still get the GA?
Yes.
I'm not, it's fine.
The Baron buff, yes, because you technically don't die and you're technically still alive, so it just gives you the buff anyway.
No, the Atacon GA still technically also stays like if you're dead when you get. It's crazy. Anyways, they are literally running rampant onto Weibo here. The biggest thing though is a redemption story for BLG. I mean, yes, they made it to playoffs last split. They didn't make it to finals. And anything but finals for BLG was an absolute disgrace, it felt like. And now they're looking to make good on that by going 2-0 to start as they get a big engage on them by Tian. Hostile takeover does its job yet again. This is why you draft this composition. And BLG executed perfectly. I said it going into the game. This is about flexing who's mechanically better on the Rift. And BLG answer in folds. This is a full-on strategic diff by BLG, and they're trying to put the finishing touches on it now. Even with the low health bars, they've just got 1 Nexus turret between them and a 2-0 start. 1 will fall, but the Nexus is the target, and BLG go to 2-0 in Group A.
the focus in mid lane was felt this game, as there was so much thrown at Knight this entire game. It was Weibo constantly trying to make dives, trying to pressure the Galio, and with how much they sunk into trying to get the mid laner of BLG behind. No, hey! Xiaohu's just walking off!
Guys! They lost their minds. The greatest to ever do it.
The greatest to ever do it has now lost against the greatest of right now. And look, they're just in the mindset of we're used to playing best of fives, guys. We're used to just having to go backstage immediately. We're
used to just immediately have to turn on. That was actually one of the funniest interactions I've ever seen. And then you have like Hung walking past Bin as he's still giving the incredible stuff. But incredible stuff from BLG. This is the BLG that we saw for a majority of the last split, and unfortunate faltering in the end. But this is a team that should be among the best in the league, and it's nice to see them execute on that with a very clean strategy and the execution followed.
I think honestly we need to be a little bit more realistic with where BLG is going to be. A lot of teams that are going to be making such a long gauntlet. You think about their competitive year last year. They went to all of the internationals. They went deep into grand finals, or winning every finals. Then they go into Worlds. They go to Worlds grand finals where they end up losing in a game 5. Yep. They don't play Demacia Cup because they're all kind of in Cancun for a little bit.
I was going to say they're in the middle of the jungle. Yeah.
And then you think about their split 1. Some of it was good. Some of it was terrible, right? The fact that they don't make it into finals, terrible. The fact that a lot of their games looked a bit questionable, that's not good. But we need to see what this team looks like with more time, learning some of the new stuff that's on the map. And obviously, I think once they are more on form and they have a little bit more time together this year, I think that is the form when I think later on in the year is when we're going to get to see the actual monster of BLG.
True. I think there's a lot of ramping up to do, but it's nice to see some of the bubbling up to the surface here of what this composition of team can do, because this is a team that's built to win internationals, it's built to win worlds, and unfortunately haven't gotten to that grace just yet. But this is also where you talk about Weibo a little bit. They're 1-1 now in the group. Things are going to get a little tight for them as they move forward, and obviously they still have another game to play, but at least today, and more games to play on Wednesday. But this team seems to lose a lot of direction in that mid to late game setup, which is, I feel like, shouldn't be the case, at least with the likes of Tian and Xiaohu.
Yeah, just those two names alone should be able to guide you, and if you don't need it anymore, you've also got Breathe in the top lane. Like, you have all of these players that have been around for a really long time that have also been able to have a lot of experience, particularly in that top side when we talk about going to internationals and going to worlds. So this team, like you were saying, shouldn't be lost, and this comes down to those big question mark pieces, right? The two newest players to Weibo, Tian and Hung, specifically in that bottom lane, they need to be able to level up just a little bit more to be able to bring this team to titles, because you look at the names on this roster and we should be expecting nothing less than top 3, top 4 finishes.
Yeah, and I think in situations specifically like this last games where you want to see Hung finding those really massive engages to kind of set up the cease and desist angles from Tian, and we weren't getting those as often as you would want with the competition that is literally all about going in. And I think those kinds of fluctuations in the execution can be really difficult to manage. And that's also why we saw Weibo falter in the first round of playoffs in that matchup against BLG in the last split, because that consistency wasn't there. And Weibo as an organization have always been known to be consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, I mean, they signed the Shy for a couple rosters, okay? They signed the main man for that one. They said, this guy is our poster.
The representative for inconsistence.
Yeah, he is what we aspire to be, which is eventually world champions. They almost did it once, but yeah, it's unfortunate. I do want to kind of reel it back a little bit. It is one game. You have, even if they were to lose both of the games to BLG and win the rest of them, they'd still be top 2. Yeah. Finished 4-2, so I think not a bad roster or record if they're able to accomplish that. And again, we're expecting both of these teams to be in the top 2. If they aren't, it comes off of massive performances from the other two in the group, EDG or WE. If WE find an upset, I don't know what's going on then. I think this group stage is already played for itself.
I'm very curious to see what the final touches will be, because again, we talked about the format earlier, but you know, third place gets to go to a little promotion series to see if they get into Ascend or Nirvana. So you have more options, even if you aren't just the top two. Fourth seed obviously goes to the Nirvana group, and that's never where you want to be. But it's a situation where there's a lot of opportunities. Again, you have 3 games on 2 separate days, and you're hoping you're feeling pretty pumped and at least using that momentum on those days itself. And we can see here now, turning that attention back to BLG, that I think momentum is definitely going in their favor here. They've handled some good wins. They have one more series today, one more game later on in the day, and the way they're looking, the way they've been drafting, seems like they have a very clear idea of what they want to do.
Yeah, I'm excited for both of these rosters. I think you look at like what they were doing earlier on in the year, and we're like, okay, maybe there's some potential there. For both of these teams, I mean, I'm looking at their future schedules, right? I'm even kind of looking at the next game right now. We are going to be having. Just want to make sure. Yeah, so we have Weibo versus WE. They need to be able to bounce back. It's their last game for today, and this should be a layup, if we're being honest. So I want to see how BLG, how Weibo are going to
believe in On and Wink?
Wait, it's WE. It's WE. I believe in On and Wink.
You say, okay,
yeah. I believe in On and Wink. I don't believe in.
I guess that we
Vampire.
shouldn't have believed in On and. Yeah,
we could save that part for that team, but I really, we need to see good games from Weibo against the other 2 squads here.
I think that starts with Tian in a lot of situations for Weibo, because yes, I talked about Hung trying to find those engages and have that kind of direction for the team, but Tian seems to be the general on the team, even if you have General Xiaohu there in the mid lane. That combination, especially when they drafted the Vi or Aurora, thought would be the saving grace. They need to find another combination that works for them, because those 2 guys functioning on the same page and efficiently is the key focus for Weibo to find wins.
Okay, now we gotta start thinking of player of the game. I think it's very obviously going to be Elk.
I think it needs to be Knight, man. Man made Galio look good in the side lanes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, he got like pushed out early as Galio versus Aurora, which happens. He had some good roams. I think we talked about all of those dives. He got a lot. It's probably going to be Elk, but give it to me.
It's got to be. It's on.
Send us to break, bro. Just send us to break.
It's because he survived with like 20 health. Okay, we went to referee. All right, everybody. We'll see you for the next game. Odd got MVP. I don't even know how. We'll see you for that series for Weibo and WE.